honestly, how I feel is people can do whatever they want to do. But to promote that they're happier with multiple partners, there's just a part of me that genuinely doesn't believe that.
No.
Like, if for this part of their life, they want to be polyamorous and they're enjoying that, I believe that. But having dated and tried to find the person and dated around until you came along, none of even those other relationships or any part of that was better than being with you. Again, I just feel like it's harmful to be like, well, biologically, we're not monogamous, and so these people are happier. Like, are they happier?
Beyond the perfect we discover, through our flaws we complete each other. Better than perfect we stay, through every fault we find our way.
Welcome back to the Better Than Perfect podcast, where every week we share with you how two imperfect people helping each other grow equals one better than perfect relationship.
That's right.
Yeah. And the last week we were talking about
Rock stars.
Yeah. And this week it's not as, I mean, it's still pretty exciting, biology, right?
Science.
So, science. Do
Bill Nye's the science guy.
are we a monogamous species, human beings? So,
yeah. Are we biologically monogamous
yeah.
or polyamorous,
Right.
as a lot of people say?
Yeah. We listened to a podcast where
It was the Diary of a CEO
yeah.
podcast, and it was, I forget who the guest was. It was
Some
a woman.
anthropologist.
Yeah.
Social anthropologist.
And she was talking about like fatherhood and
yeah.
love, but it was mostly about fatherhood, really, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was.
And why fathers are important and things like that. But there was a tidbit in there.
Why fathers are important, why they're also unnecessary. So that was the weird thing about they're like, oh yeah, no, two women can be fathers, but fathers are important, but
Or two men can have the same effect as
the mother.
Yeah.
So it's like, why do we need women? But why do we need men? Why do we need anyone?
We don't. That's what AI wants us to believe, because it's going to take over.
Yeah.
But anyway, go watch the AI episode if you want to get more into that. One part that really stood out was she was talking about how polyamorous couples, like, that's actually the biological way we're wired, or like our natural way.
Same level of satisfaction between monogamous couples and polyamorous.
Yeah, and we both like paused it and was like, wait a minute. And like, we paused it because, one, obviously we don't agree with that, but
Right.
John actually brought up the point that I was thinking the same thing, is that when people talk about biologically we're not meant to be monogamous,
Right.
or even, in my opinion, biologically, like, men are programmed to spread their seed, or
Right.
you just mentioned before we started this episode, biologically women are going to seek out the highest value man. Like, those things might be true,
Right.
but what we came to the agreement is that we don't operate our lives from strictly biological
Right.
standards.
We're not
So-
all animal. We're not just animals.
Right.
We have
don't
a
just
spiritual
act
aspect.
crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Like, we don't just,
We have cerebral
literally
cortexes,
run
yeah,
away
right.
when we're scared or something. I mean, maybe if something's chasing you and that's what makes sense.
We don't
but
just shit and pee wherever we want,
Right.
like an animal. Like, we learn to become potty trained.
John
like,
didn't have to do an elaborate dance in order for me to be like, I want to mate with him.
Yeah, I just did that for fun. Just
Yeah, you just do it for fun.
It just amped the wanting to mate with me more. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When
Maybe
I was
we'll
like,
insert the clip
"Where's
of that.
the gym? Is it over there or there?" And then you're like, "Oh,
I'm like,
now."
oh, never mind. It can also deter.
But
No,
yeah,
it obviously didn't deter. But yeah, so that part really like struck us
yeah,
as far as talking about, why, especially a lot of like anthropologists or any other sort of scientific credentialed person
yeah,
likes to bring up biology for excuses.
Yeah.
When it's not just biological. Like,
Right.
that can help us make sense of things. So I get why they bring it up, but it's not the full picture.
right,
And I think that I guess I'll let you say some things before I go off on like another tangent because I've been talking for a while. But
Well, no, finish your thought here, unless you got.
I mean, I was just going to say that I feel like if you genuinely think you're happy being polyamorous than monogamous, that you just really haven't found somebody that fulfills those needs inside of you, because it makes me feel like if you need more than one person in that way, then like you haven't found somebody that you feel fulfilled with.
Right. Yeah.
And she was talking about how like if you're polyamorous, you can have romantic relationships and connections with multiple people and it makes you feel more fulfilled. But I don't think that's necessarily true.
Right.
Because I feel like then having dated and having had romantic interests in other people, that would feel fulfilling, but it never does.
Yeah.
Like, and even with men, like they think that they can just sleep with people because biologically that's what their biology is telling them to do. So then when they do it, they still feel like they're missing that thing, right? Like it doesn't feel truly fulfilling.
Yeah.
And you've been there, and like I've been searching for a relationship before you came along, and you were spreading your seed before I came along. And so,
I'm a gentleman. I do no such thing.
And so what I'm trying to say though is that we were both in the position where like it should have, according to her, been
should have been like, this is
fulfilling.
optimal.
It should have been whatever.
Right.
But it's not, and it's because there's that spiritual side of it that science doesn't take into account and kind of almost discredits because it's not provable. When
Even though,
science isn't provable either, but that's a whole nother
Well, this part kind of
topic.
science, like pseudoscience, right? Like psychology.
Right, where you're trying to understand the human mind, which it's like, we also talked about that when we were talking about a lot of this, is that how do you even know if someone's telling you the full truth or how they fully feel? Like, how do you even articulate that in a way and how it could change, it could not change.
Right.
You know, it's kind of hard to quantify that and be like, this is the right way.
Right.
Which, and again, like you said, she started the thing being like, fathers are important. And in the Congo, they're like the ones that take care of the baby half of the time, literally half the time. They do all these things. But you don't really need them at the end, you know? Like, she's like, it doesn't really matter.
So then they go off and start a new family. But they are animals, right? So it's like, and they're running off instincts. They don't have the cognitive ability and the spiritual aspect that we have as humans, because we don't live like animals. All animals live like animals. You don't see animals that don't live like animals. There's no animals that are going around that I know of that are wearing clothes and typing on computers and making things besides primitive tools.
Right.
And, you know, and having a language where they have decided how to communicate and how their society will work. And, you know, this is the thing.
The
it's
octopus cities, though. Have you heard about those?
No.
There's literally like 2 octopus cities or something that octopus have constructed. But octopus are also one of the octopi are one of the like most intelligent creatures. So
but the biology of it is so, I mean, the question is like, are we a monogamous species? And I think that, you know, she presented some biology of it. And I think there are like, there's the biological components, and then there's the spiritual components on top of that, what I'll call that. And so biologically, I don't even necessarily agree with her that we're non-monogamous. I do think that biologically men are wired to want to spread their seed for genetic diversity, right? So a man is visually wired, like biologically, to be attracted to multiple women and to try and get with multiple women, right? A woman doesn't have that same biological wiring. Not that a woman can't find different guys attractive, but when she has one man, she is generally like not like, you see a guy with a shirt off, you're not like, oh, I need to go over there.
Like, ding.
Right. Whereas men, they're more ding, right? Yeah. However, women biologically are wired to seek emotional relationships outside of their relationship. In a sense that, well, but they have to resist that at a spiritual level, just like, or, you know, whatever, at a psychological level, you could say, because the proof
you think
of that.
That's biological?
Yeah. is romance novels, romance stories, movies, right? Women want to have
But I think
romantic.
that's because they don't have it
I mean,
to the
yes,
extent that they want.
but you could say the same thing with men. If they don't have the attractive woman that they want, then are they? But I just think that biologically, women are wired to seek that, to seek romance. Just like, but it's something that has to be tamed, just like a man's desires have to be tamed.
But I think if you're getting romance in your relationship, that you're not seeking that.
Yeah, I think that.
Honestly.
But you have to make that choice. You know what I'm saying? It's like, are you, okay, because women are still tempted by romance stories, right? Now, again, it's not necessarily in we don't see it in a bad way unless it's excessive, right? Mm-hmm. But women that are happily married will still want to watch romances, right? And so what I'm saying is the biological wiring for the affinity for romance or the attraction towards romance is there. We're equivalent to the biological wiring for the visual aspect of attraction to men, right? So it's like men biologically are wired to be attracted to the physical element, right? Whereas women are biologically wired to be attracted to the emotional element. Both of those things, as humans and not animals, we have to control to a degree. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to live a way that we want to live. On top of that, we're not just ruled by our primitive desires.
Well, so we know how men do that, like
Right.
not engaging in those behaviors,
Right.
like not searching for corn on the internet, not,
Yeah.
oogling random women, like, training themselves to appreciate what they have.
Right.
What do you say that women do? Because I didn't think that you would go the romance way. Like, I get
Yeah.
that women want romance.
Yeah. Right.
But I guess, like, obviously the romance novels we've talked about, like,
Right.
that's not good. And it's actually going to make you more unfulfilled in your relationship because you don't have that. Now you're comparing it. But
Right.
what other thing are you saying that women need to tame in
Yeah.
terms
Well-
of that? Because it's also, like, makes me feel like women should... You're not saying this, but it makes it sound like women shouldn't want the emotional romance from their partner.
Right,
And
I'm
I
not
feel
saying
like
that.
that's just kind of a...
No, they should want it
Cop
only
out.
from their partner, right? So it's like maybe it's better
But
to
what if
compare.
he's not doing it?
But compare it to smut novels, right? In a sense, that's a better way to get the smut novel. TikTok, book talk, love ya. But so basically, like, if you think of it this way, right? And here's the kind of world that we live in, right? So as a man, right? Our advertisers and marketers are smart, right? Mm-hmm. What's all over the fucking place that you cannot go somewhere and not see all over the place? You go to the gym, go to the pool, go to your computer, TV, but scantily clad women, boobs, butts, everywhere, right? Like, I mean, literally think about how many images of boobs and butts, right? Or, of women that every human is exposed to every single day, wherever you go, right? It's all over social media. It's all over advertising.
It's
all over
sexualized because,
Right.
like, in Europe, they have a lot of like that sort of stuff, but it's not as like sexualized as I feel like it is here. I mean, they have like topless beaches and stuff there.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, regardless, it's like, well, that's still indecent, right? It's still like, I mean, they're trying to be
why
like,
do they allow it?
we are superior. It's because we don't sexualize. No, but you still got, you're telling me that dude is like, oh, but those tits, I don't care. They can see them any day. And it's like, no, yeah, but you can see them any day, everywhere, in every advertisement. But, just because you've made a topless beach and tried to say that it's culturally appropriate, it's still sexualized, right? It's just not explicitly sexualized. But don't tell me guys are like, oh, boobs, I don't care about boobs. No, What I'm saying though is that the images are everywhere. Mm-hmm. And so a man has to actively resist that biology because marketers, advertisers are smart. They use they know, right? And women are also purposely exploiting that weakness in men, right? that biological weakness. Women don't have as much, like there's not romantic smut in their peripheral all the time, but they can easily get addicted to smut novels and then have access to that and indulge in that, right? Because it is easy for a woman to become addicted to those things, to romance novels, to smut novels. Why? Because it's lighting up the same thing that's lighting up for the man. It's the only problem is that man is being exposed to this all the time, everywhere. Women aren't typically being exposed to it all the time, but definitely advertisers are smart when they advertise to women in certain ways as well, to like the romance stories and the, to find that dissatisfaction with your relationship that makes you want more of this, of how it should be, the fantasy, right?
But
You
I
see what I'm
think
saying?
that is how it should be.
Well, yeah, but some of the
And after
depictions.
meeting you, I think it's definitely how it should be.
Well, I agree, but but some of the depictions are unrealistic.
Like aliens.
I'm not even saying alien. I'm just saying like even like
alien smut novels.
Well, look. Yeah, alien smut novels for sure. Yeah, but you get what I'm saying, right? So you have a biological component that is hardwired into men, right? You have a biological component that's hardwired into women. Different weaknesses that they have, but both of those things have to be controlled, right? As a man, what do? You don't go and seek that out. Like you try to shield yourself from the thing. You don't go and look at it. You don't, you don't entertain it. As a woman, same thing. Like you just don't indulge yourself into this stuff. Yeah, you could read 500 romance novels and get into smut novels and all these things, right? And you choose to not do that, even though you might be pulled to that. Especially if you start reading them, it's a trap, right? So that's what I would say about the biology about that. But
I thought you were going to more so go that women are biologically inclined to seek higher status men.
that's true as well, right? As we talked about last week
with them,
with the rock star thing, right? And so yeah. So I guess that's the other thing is that women would have to resist the celebrity or the rock star, the status.
or a
right.
higher status man is what you're saying than the man that she's with.
Yeah, but I think though that's where it's kind of a weird thing, and maybe it is more of the psychological component. But like when I coach guys, I'm always like, no, you're the highest status man this woman's ever seen in her life, because it doesn't even matter because you're higher status than a fucking rock star because you're the fucking man, right? You know what I mean? Like you have to have that. If you're carrying that swagger with you everywhere you go, then your woman also believes that because you have, because it's what you're projecting.
It's the confidence.
Yeah.
Like until you make it.
Right. Yeah.
That's true though.
Like as a man, if I believe that you could do better than me, then you should do better than me. Like I don't believe you can. Like I'm never going to believe that. I'm like, I'm the fucking shit, right? You know?
You are the fucking shit.
But I have to believe that.
Right.
Otherwise, where am I? Then you're susceptible to the biology of the status. But it doesn't mean that women have to always go after the highest status man they can and leave relationships with men that are of.
No.
And just like a man doesn't have to be like, oh, well, that woman's harder than my woman, so I guess I better go and trade up. Like that's not also, again, we don't necessarily operate like that. And again, at the biological level, maybe your biology might be telling you some of those things.
To operate that way.
Right.
Yeah.
But at a psychological level, you have things like love, right?
Like spiritual level is what we said. The spiritual level.
And love is saying that, it's not worth, like what I'm getting is so much better than what I could get, like it's not the, there's this intangible value that I'm getting that makes me happy, makes me fulfilled.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we're not just strictly biological beings.
Right. And that's what everyone gets wrong.
Talking about anything, especially relationships in a biological way, almost strictly biological way, makes zero sense.
Yeah.
Because it's not biological at all. Like, I mean, it is to some degree,
right.
But I feel like really I guess that's the thing is even last episode and this episode, you keep saying all these things like, no, you have to make a choice. But I feel like I'm not choosing, it's just what I know to be right.
Right.
And so when you're like, oh, like you have to choose to not want to be with a higher status man, I'm like, that's not even like in my mind.
Right.
It's not even feels like in my biology at this point.
Right.
Because the spiritual part and the like knowing
Right.
that you and I are meant to be together, which probably sounds woo-woo to a lot of people, but I don't even care.
Right.
Because it's like when you feel it, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and it can't be explained through
Right.
biology.
Right.
It's not that I don't know. It's not like the things that you did biologically. It's that connection
Right.
that you and I have. Like,
Yeah.
yes, it is like you don't do the things that you talked about. Like you don't stare at women, or you're not going to leave me for like a hotter person, and I'm not going to leave you. But like those things don't even pop up
Right.
on the radar,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that spiritual part of it, that a lot of people talking about relationships gets discarded.
Right.
Or like other, like fears get thrown in, and it's like, you know, people are like, don't have joint bank accounts with your husband or wife. Like, what?
Right.
Like, that's just fear.
Yeah.
Like, and I get where the fear stems from, and I get that we want to make sense of things in life with biology so we can be like, no, this is the exact way you do this.
Right.
But you can't really do that. And I know we're sitting here and we're trying to do the best that we can to help people
Yeah.
get to where you and I are. And you can, I think you can do that.
Right,
There's
yeah.
not a step-by-step guide we can give people.
No.
We can just talk about what we're doing and what's worked for us and where we're at. And people might not believe that we're in the place that we're at, but we are.
Yeah.
And so if you do believe it and you do want it, you can listen to what we're saying and put that into action for yourself. Or, I don't know, stick to the biology if you want, but that's not going to give you the full picture.
Right. Yeah, you can't use biology as the excuse and be like, this is just how
Right.
we're wired or how things are supposed to be. Just like, because we live, well, that's what I was talking about too, is we live in an artificial world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the natural world, before, there wasn't fast food and there wasn't refined sugar, right? And so in that natural world, if you just ate how you felt as a human, instinctually, based on your biology, you'd probably do pretty good. You'd probably eat the right stuff, probably wouldn't get fat, probably wouldn't get heart disease, right? Probably be okay. We also live in an artificial world of butts and boobs, right? And so you can't fast food it. Like, you still have to constrain yourself. We live in a world where every indulgence is available to us from a biological craving. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of smut novels. There are plenty of things that women can get caught up in, or validation she can get from DMing rock stars on Instagram and their respond back. Right. Mm-hmm. But you don't just go after all those things because it is an artificial world. You can't go by just on your instinct or feelings. Right. Mm-hmm. But to the point that you're saying, when you have a relationship like we do, that is so deep on that psychological, spiritual level, then those biological urges, you can't even hear them anymore. Yeah. They're still there because it's in our biology, but we're not viewing them. We're not hearing them. They don't.
Mm-hmm. They are muted.
They're muted. That's the thing about it. And so that's what's possible, mm-hmm. is to have those things be muted, right? And so you're not subject to your body. Just like if someone is like, when someone's like, "Oh, I'm overweight because it's genetic. I'm hungry all the time, and I just have to eat." It's like, yeah, you have a biology that's driving you for hunger, right? And maybe yours is more than other people, but the reason why you're 500 pounds is because you're eating McDonald's 3 times a day. Like, it's like you're making choices. Yeah, you could be hungry and eat food, but the choices that you're making are causing your result. You're not just subject to your biology. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, people don't want it to be their fault.
Right.
They want to blame it on something
Right.
that's out of their control.
Right.
And I think even with relationships,
right.
They want to blame being attracted to somebody else or doing something like that, or being addicted to smut novels, or I don't know,
right.
whatever it is, on something else that it doesn't have to be their choice. Like, it doesn't
right.
have to be their fault.
Right. Right.
But like you said, it is your choice.
Right.
And it is your responsibility to cultivate the relationship that you want, not
right.
just be like, well, biologically, men are going to stare at women. And so as a society, we should be fine with that. Or
Right.
biologically, women are going to want to seek out romance. So you just have to deal with it
Right.
and whatever. Because I feel like if you give in to those things, and plenty of people do,
Right.
women become disinterested in sex with a man that is sex craved for other people, not
Right.
his wife.
Right.
And men become less romantic when their wife is obsessed with romance novels
Sure.
or romance movies, or like getting that fix from somewhere else.
Right.
And so that has become normalized rather than, harnessing the spiritual part. And it's
Right.
also like validated in a way by biology being like,
Right.
or science being
Right.
like, well, this is how we're biologically wired. Like,
Yeah.
it's fine. Like, how many times have you heard the excuse that men seeking out women in multiple ways is
Yeah.
just their biology?
Right.
So many times.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like, okay, do you shave your armpits?
No.
Yes, you do.
You like them.
or I mean, like, but what I'm saying is that, like, biologically, you have hair that grows under your arms.
Yeah.
So are we good? Like, no one makes the argument. Oh, I mean, some people do make the argument, but as a society, we're not like, oh, well, I mean, it's just biology. So why would we not?
Some people do.
I mean, some people do, but what I'm saying is that it's like you shave your legs, you shave your armpits as a woman, right? It's like, yeah, the biology is other than that, but we don't ever make the argument like, oh, it's ridiculous to shave your armpits because that's the biology. It's the same. That's the same argument that I hear when people are like, oh, it's ridiculous to like expect men to be faithful or to not look because it's biology. I was like, well, yeah, but we don't do everything according to biology. That's my whole point. It's like, if we did everything according to biology, then we would just be animals and we would just do whatever the fuck we want. And then we'd be like, oh, I mean, he got angry and he killed someone. So, I mean, it's biology, right? It's like, why are you going to throw him in prison? Like, that's just what happens. Like, you get angry, you kill people, or hit them. That's just biology, right? It's like, you can't use that's just biology for any other excuse, right? For any other part of society. We never excuse criminals because it's biology, right? We don't like, not wear clothes and shit in our yards because it's biology. Like we do other things that are against the quote biology because it's better, because we're evolved, because we're humans, because we have a higher level of thinking, not the animal brain that, we have a cerebral cortex that's on top of the animal brain. That's where we have our willpower and our decision making that and our language abilities that sit above it, that's the spiritual, the higher level.
Right.
Right. And so that's why, like, it's such a stupid argument of, we're not monogamous because it's our biology. I disagree that that's even the case in the biology, because part of biology is mate guarding, right? So, and we are biologically wired to be extremely jealous when someone tries to take our mate. So if you're monogamous, why would you care?
Right.
Except for paternity.
Monogamous?
Right. I mean, yeah, if you're non-monogamous, why would you care? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
The paternity aspect of the genetics, sure, I get that part, but like, why does it matter if you're biologically not? There must be some monogamous element of our biology in order to have that reaction. Right?
Honestly, I feel like the polyamorous being our natural biological way was invented by a man, I would think, in order to promote men going out and being able to do more things. Because I'm not saying that there aren't any polyamorous women, but women, I feel like, are biologically geared more towards relationships. Right. And it's like, that's where they feel most like connected and loved. And again, it goes back to the spiritual part of like loved. Like, women are way more likely to be happy with one man that they love and they care about and they respect.
Right.
But a man could love and care about and respect his woman and still cheat on her.
Right.
So it's like, in that sense, like, I don't think it's all biology, because again, there are women that are in polyamorous relationships or whatever. But like you said, I think though that men and women are yin and yang, like we've talked about before. Right. And you need two halves to make a whole. That's two people. That's not 4 or 5 or whatever.
Right.
You can't make a yin and yang with that many people. You can make separate ones, but it's like 2 halves make the whole in this sense in a relationship. And it doesn't have to be just a heterosexual relationship, but it's, to me, it just doesn't really make sense to have these other outlying pieces.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have a whole. You're not going to create a new unit.
Yeah.
And you can create, like, a family unit
Right.
can have multiple people, but really at the core of that is still the parents.
Right. Yeah.
So just in my mind when she was talking about it, it more so seemed like someone somewhere
Came up.
use this science to like promote this new age way of like, no, we don't have to live just to a couple. It can be one person with multiple wives, and you've seen that in other religions or countries and things like that. They have multiple wives, but not once have I seen that where people seem actually happier. And in that podcast, she said they are happier. And I don't believe that. I feel like you more so see the happiest people, which are people who genuinely found their soulmate or someone they want to spend the rest of their lives with, and they do that, and they're happy the entire time.
Well, and I mean, there's a biological like history or reason for like the polygamous relationships that is under certain circumstances. Just like there's a lot of biology that is under certain circumstances, right? So back in the day, right, when a lot of men were killed in warfare and there was a high amount of women to men ratio, and women were not working and sustaining themselves, like, and not even just from a political standpoint, right? Like, we have to remember that it's not that women were suppressed necessarily. It's that we didn't have the technological advancement where you could sustain yourself without having one person dedicated to taking care of the household and cooking and taking care of the children, and another person going out and hunting and killing and you know what I mean? Like that. Like now we go to the supermarket, we get meat, we can do desk jobs and make money, and so there was an element of that, right? And so women couldn't just survive on their own back in that at that time. Yeah, now women could survive on their own. That's fine, right? But back then, in our history, women couldn't survive on their own, right? They needed a man, right? And if a man had a lot of resources, then multiple women, that man kind of was under a duty or obligation to take care of multiple women. But also those relationships were more about a survival type of relationship, right? And so there's a biological component where a man could take care of and have multiple women, and women would be accepting of that situation. We can even see it now, like we were talking about last episode with rock stars. Like a lot of women will share a man that's high enough value, that has enough status and resources, because it's biologically, but a man would never do that, right? Because there's a biological difference. However, it doesn't point to non-monogamy as a default. It points to it that under certain circumstances, we are wired in such a way that we're in order for the population to survive, the species.
Then you were wired for survival, not for monogamy.
Right.
And so if you're going to make that argument, then we're just wired to survive.
Yeah. And that's a lot of, like, the root biology is wired to survive. There's a really good book called Sperm Wars that talks about the evolutionary biology in sexuality. And there's a lot of evolutionary adaptations that have occurred, such as the shape of the penis as a shovel to shovel out.
A shovel?
Yeah, like to shovel out other sperm from other competitors.
When was this?
When did this happen?
Yeah.
I mean, this is how...
It's now shaped like a shovel?
Yeah. The head, like it's... Like, not like a full shovel.
I guess I'm like literally imagining, those like sharks that have kind of like a shovel shaped head. Like, it's not a hammerhead shark.
Yeah.
They have like a shovel shaped head.
Yeah, it's not quite,
I wouldn't call it a shovel, but I can see what you're saying.
But it
like
serves that
works
purpose.
To that
it serves
way.
that.
Well, then what did it look like before?
No, that's what that's...
it's always been that way?
For humans,
okay.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, different, dogs are like, there's like different, our horses... It's like...
I think it looks more like a mushroom.
Huh?
And so I think
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know it is,
then
but
a shovel. You're
serves the
confusing me. I'm
purpose of
literally thinking about a shovel. That sounds really painful.
Yeah, but there's certain.
Sorry, I
you distracted me now. So, but I mean, there's different things that occur, and even in terms of ovulation and women's are more likely to orgasm with a man they're cheating with than which
What?
the reason biologically for that is because it's for genetic diversity, is because if she is pursuing a short-term rendezvous with a higher genetic potential mate as opposed to the provider mate, then orgasm actually increases the likelihood of conception. And so that's why that happens. Also, when a man cheats, his sperm count is higher with the woman that he cheats with, which again, these are biological mechanisms. So that again, it doesn't because it's going to sound like, okay, that sounds pretty non-monogamous,
it sounds like
right?
you're proving the point.
But okay, so biologically, I don't think we're non-monogamous, but biologically, are we wired to cheat? Yes. Like that is in our biology. Again, that doesn't mean we do it, right? Just like we're biologically wired that when we get angry, we get violent, but doesn't mean that we do it, right?
Right.
But what I'm saying is that that's how these things have evolved, right? These are real facts about human reproduction, like sperm volume and stuff is measured in those situations. And
you think we're biologically programmed to cheat just to reproduce and populate the world? Because it doesn't sound like really it's for, I mean, it just sounds like for reproduction.
For genetic advantage, yeah. Right. So it's just like,
do you get married just to genetically reproduce? Are you polyamorous just to genetically reproduce?
Well,
like,
okay.
That's the thing is like,
yeah,
they're using biology, but yes, a lot of people get married to have children and create a family, but it's like monogamous people don't typically go down that. I mean, polyamorous people don't typically go down that road to be like,
no,
I'm going to start a family with all these people.
But the
unless
wiring,
it was way back in the day when they were just trying to survive.
Right, but the wiring is there, right? There's another good book called Mean Genes, right? Or actually, there's one called, I think, the Selfish Gene, right? I think that's Dawkins. But it talks about how the gene, your genetics are just trying to replicate itself. And there's a lot of studies, and there's different pieces of this where you, depending on your genetic relation to someone, like a cousin or something like that, then like that's where they think that the idea of like compromising or working together came from, is like, okay, well, if I can't pass on my genes, like my cousin has some of my genes, so I'm willing to sacrifice myself in order for my cousin to survive, in order to pass on some of our genetic material. So like it's like the genes are hijacking your brain, your system, like by default, but you as a human obviously override those things to a degree, right? So,
well, yeah, and I think too, it's like you can't go strictly based on your biology, because then every woman should have kids.
Right.
That's what we have all these parts for, right? Like that's biologically what we're supposed to do.
Right.
And
as many as
possible. A lot of women now don't even want to have any kids at all.
Right.
So it's like you can't, I guess it just feels like cherry picking things to promote a certain narrative.
Right.
And it's harmful, I think, to use biology to support these things when, especially relationships, is not strictly biology.
Exactly. There's a social construct
there's
on top
tons
of
parents too that don't connect with their kid the way that they biologically should.
Right.
Like there's so many outliers, even with this biological science that they're bringing in to support their claims, that, again, I feel like it's harmful to try to include polyamory so that it doesn't feel like an outlier.
Right.
while diminishing monogamy, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, how I feel is people can do whatever they want to do.
Right.
But to promote that they're happier with multiple partners,
Right.
there's just a part of me that genuinely doesn't believe that.
No.
Like, if for this part of their life, they want to be polyamorous and they're enjoying that, I believe that. I believe that they can be in that stage of their life.
Right.
But having like dated and tried to find like the person and like dated around until you came along, none of even those other relationships or any part of that was better than being with you. And
Right.
so again, I just feel like it's harmful to be like, well, biologically, we're not monogamous. And so these people are happier. Like, are they happier? I think they're also trying to promote their situation that they're
Right.
in. And like, maybe people think that that's what we're doing. But again, I think if you go back to see older couples that have been together for a really long time, or couples just in general, where you can tell they genuinely love each other and they love being with each other, you can tell that they're happier.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And so they don't even have to sit here and tell you on a podcast like this. You can experience it. And I feel like people who are in our lives have experienced it.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't really like the whole pushing a narrative and then trying to back it up with biology when there's plenty of outliers to biology. And like you said, there's plenty of things that we should be fighting biology on because we shouldn't be going around acting like a bunch of crazy animals.
Right.
That, you know, it's actually more harmful to try to use science to get people to believe it in order to push this other narrative that isn't even really backed up by anything.
Just because it's biological or natural doesn't mean it's good. That's the thing that, you know, because it's like, I mean, even dogs, right? We're not like, don't train the dog. That's against the biology. Like, just let it do whatever it wants, shit wherever it wants, piss wherever it wants.
We wouldn't even have them inside if, that's not
like,
part of their normal nature.
Right. So we like train a dog, right? Dog behaves. We give the dog command. Like we're resisting the natural biology, right? But there's also a part of the natural biology that makes a dog trainable, right? But what I'm saying is that we don't just accept that in humans. We don't accept that in dogs. So we're just going to accept that in humans and use that as an excuse. It doesn't make sense. It's important to understand to some degree the biology so you can understand what you're dealing with, right? And what things that you have to overcome potentially, right? And what also your partner might struggle with, right? Because it's different struggle. Like I said, it's a woman needs to understand that she's not biologically wired the same as a man because she doesn't understand why it is more difficult for a man to be, to be not distracted by, women and butts and boobs, right? Where she doesn't have any problem with that. So she's like, well, he must just be a piece of shit. Well, the same thing, a man needs to understand why women are biologically wired to, to seek out high status men or to seek romance, and that kind of thing, because otherwise he doesn't understand the struggle of that, right? You know what I'm saying? So those things are good to know, but it doesn't excuse the behavior, and it doesn't mean that we are subject only to our biology and that we shouldn't judge people because they're like, okay, well, it's just the biology. It's just, because that's not true, right? And that's the thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah. It is not like it's not good information to have. I just feel like it's bad when you act like that's the only information you need.
Right. Yeah.
That's my problem.
Yeah.
Is like, that's not the only information you need. And honestly, even us doing our podcast, it's like, will we ever be able to like fully explain it? Or will we ever be able to like give everyone all the keys, all the steps? No. But it's like, we have cracked a lot of the code, including, I feel like this. But relationships are one of those things, like you said, how do you even scientifically quantify a relationship? Like, you really can't, because you can't really tell what someone's thinking. They can tell you.
Right.
You can hope they're telling the truth. You can give them a lie detector or something. But even then, does a lie detector actually work? Who knows? So it's like, you have to just find couples and people that you trust and trust that are telling you the truth and trust that want to help you and trust that they're experiencing this happiness
Right.
that they want you to experience, rather than listening to some scientists be like, yeah, well, polyamorous people are really the happiest because then they're just spreading their love to everybody. It's
Right.
like, okay. But like as a person, you should be spreading your love to people, but that doesn't mean your romantic love.
Right, exactly.
You don't have to have multiple romantic partners to be happier.
Right. Yeah.
And so I guess that's my whole spiel on it.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I don't know what else I would add, but it just bothered me that it was so black and white when relationships are the furthest thing from black and white. It's
Well,
multiple.
and there's a contradiction
areas.
there too, which is like, again, I don't care which side of the coin you fall on, but contradictions I don't like, right? So it's like, if you're like, okay, well, biology says this, so that I didn't say it. It's like, we're non-monogamous by biology,
Right.
so that's how we should really be. Well, okay. That if that same person is like, whoa, homosexuality is biological and it's perfectly normal, then it's like, well, but this doesn't fit in this. So like, I'm okay with that if that's what a person wants to choose, but you can't use the argument of biology. You see what I'm saying? Because that's not biologically natural. It doesn't work that way. That's not how we're wired. We can't reproduce through a homosexual relationship. Our species is not created in that way. Moral judgments aside, that doesn't matter. I'm not trying to make a moral judgment. You can do whatever you want as a human being. I don't care. But what I'm saying is, if you're trying to use a biological argument, but you're trying to have it both ways, that I can't stand. Like, you got to pick one.
Say that it's not biological. Like, it's what we're saying.
Right.
It's not strictly
No
biological.
one would argue that homosexual relationships reproduce.
Right.
No one would argue that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Proving the point that it's not based all on biology.
Right. So
Like,
that's what I'm saying. It's like, if you want to say it's all based on biology, then you have to, by default, be against homosexual relationships, because you would say, well, that's not compatible with the biology. What I'm saying is that it's not all based on biology. There's another component that's higher than that, right? And
the
that's why,
spiritual part.
exactly.
Right.
So, and that's the thing. It's like, you just can't be in contradiction. You have to choose what level you're living at. If you're living at just biology, then let's let your dog do whatever. Don't train your dog, right? And you probably run around naked as a human. That's your biology.
But I think people that are genuinely in happy, good relationships know that it's a spiritual element, because you can feel it. When you're in that sort of relationship, you can feel it. And this lady, I think she's married and she had a kid or something. I think even maybe she understands that. But then when you are a scientist and you can't back that up with science, what do you preach? You're going to preach your science so that you have credibility in your career, rather than things that can't be proven that people can be skeptical of.
Right.
But I think everybody knows, who have been in love, like really been in love, that it's a spiritual, it's not just biological. Like, it's not just you smell good. Like, yes, there is some of that, like,
that
component
attraction,
but it's not just like, I smelled him, I like the smell, he is mine now. Like, it's not caveman status. And even caveman people probably didn't use just biology. They didn't even know what biology was.
Right.
They met a nice other cave woman and they were like, let's make babies, and then, whatever. But like you said, or they formed like a team where the caveman went hunting and then she stayed at home and took care of the kids, and he would come back and like made sure that he still had his woman and like she's not having babies with somebody else, or you know what I mean? So like, it's more layers, and it's always been more layers, and it always will be more layers than just biology. Like, yes, you can use biology to make sense of some of the urges and desires that you might have, but that doesn't mean that just because it's biological that it's right. Or like what you should do, or, I mean, that's like, it doesn't make a lot of sense when you talk about something as intricate as relationships to be like, well, this is what biology says. So, and then leave it at that. Like, she didn't really talk at all about the spiritual part.
No,
it was strictly, and I mean, again, I think it's because she's an anthropologist.
Right.
She doesn't want to lose her credibility, so she goes more scientific. But then again, she didn't even really talk about like the studies that these things came from either. So again, it's hard to, it's just like, again, I feel like it was more damaging to relationships than what she even intended. Because like you said, she started it talking about how important it was for fathers to be in
Right.
their children's lives.
Right.
And then by the end, it was like, well, you don't really need men.
Yeah.
You know, these other
He
people
was kind
can
of
do
caught
the
her in a
things.
trap because she was like, oh, well, like, yeah, because what she said didn't make sense.
Right. So it's like,
yeah.
and I think because we're trying to like include all these different things, again, like, I don't care what people do. That's
Right.
not my life. It's not
Right.
my problem. But I think it is harmful when you try to include every single thing in what you're talking about, because then you just confuse people.
Because some things are better than other things.
Right.
And that
like
has
you
to,
can
like,
have whatever you want.
Right.
You can have whatever
Right.
situation that
Right.
you want in life,
Right.
but you can't act like they're all equally as good.
No.
Because we know
yeah.
multiple like people out there probably have relationships that aren't that great.
Right.
Like we don't know anybody personally that I can think of that has like a bad relationship, but it's like, well, but
Maybe
but
they,
you know what I mean? Like
but
there's,
we won't call them out by
there's
name.
some people that, you know, aren't in a happy relationship.
Right. Yeah.
And then there are people that are in a really happy relationship. And then, you know, there might be some polyamorous people who are happy, but
Yeah.
are they really happy? Are they like, what level are they? You can't quantify that in a way that biology will give you a set answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's not biological to even conduct that as a study, because how do you really know? Like, and I guess I mean this in a way of like, before I met you, there are people I could have been with that I could have had a happy life.
Sure. Yeah.
And at that time, because I didn't know what you and I could have, it could have seemed like the top.
Right.
But then when you came along, I was like, nothing else will ever compare. I still feel that way. Nothing else. And I know that for sure. I don't have to go searching for it. I'm like 100% certain.
Right.
So people could still be, they could be taking these studies and they're still in this other area where they
Right.
genuinely believe that they're at the top of what they could have.
Right. Exactly.
But they don't even know that they're
But
not.
they don't know exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why it's just so harmful, in my opinion, to be like, this is the science. When
Right.
it's not science you can even understand. Because I didn't even understand that I could be this happy in a relationship and have this sort of relationship until you came along and we had it.
Right.
So like, you can't sit here and tell me that polyamorous people are happier when you can't even really quantify, because you don't know where the
Right.
person's at. You don't know where they're at in their happiness level of the potential they have.
They're like, I don't like mangoes. And they're like, what, have you ever had a Costa Rican mango? And they're like, no, but I don't like it. Like,
Right.
yeah, but if you had a Costa Rican mango, you wouldn't say that.
Right. Yeah. You just like,
You know, like-
maybe you haven't gotten there.
Yeah, exactly. So,
And I think it's better to say things like, maybe I haven't met the right person yet, rather than be like, you're better, you're happier if you're polyamorous. You know what I mean?
All the good things we do that we consider good are things that are against our biology, by the way, right? Like, you know, our biology is like, be lazy. That's not a good thing. Our biology is eat whatever you want. That's not a good thing. Like we have we admire discipline as a good thing, right? Our biology is, you know, say whatever you want, or
Right.
you know, like
Whatever
be
thought comes
emotional,
into your
whatever.
head.
It's like, but we do not consider those to be good things. So everything, you know, so you could make the argument that we're non-monogamous, that we have some non-monogamous tendencies by our biology. I could,
Sure.
right? Like we talked about some of those, but that doesn't make it a good thing.
Right. It doesn't make it the right thing.
Right.
Like, doesn't make it the path that we
Right,
should go
'cause
down.
Everything else that is, you know, that we consider to be good, discipline, self respect, and, you know, control, self control, and all these things, we consider those to be good things, which are against. We consider them to be good because they're against our biology. You know, so that's the thing about it is that.
And I'm not saying that science is bad. I just want to put that out there. I'm not saying that science is bad. I won't say how I actually feel about science, but I don't feel like it's bad. I feel like it has done a lot of good things for us as humans, and it will continue as well. But I think when you're talking about something as spiritual as relationships, any relationship,
right?
it cannot be explained with science.
No, you can't.
Fully.
Yeah.
There's no way.
We don't operate at that level. We operate at a societal level, at a higher level of of consciousness. I mean, that's the thing is like if you look at the whole levels of consciousness, right? Like science is actually at level 500 with that. What is the chart called? Levels of consciousness. I'm trying to remember the author's name. Now I can't remember his. Stephen. I don't know. I don't know.
I know what book you're talking about, but I can't remember the title or the author.
Yeah, there we go. Can't remember the title or the author. We'll see. I mean, when AI makes the show notes, I think it'll know. You know, the guy, levels of consciousness. You got it there. Go Grok. You can do it.
You'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
But the idea is like science caps out at level 500, I think, and then above that is like love, which is at like 600, and then like
I didn't even know science was on there.
It is. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's I think it's reason is what is but above that there's higher levels of consciousness that are beyond just the reason, logic, science level. Right. And if you just go to that level, yeah, you can accomplish a lot of things, evolve a lot as a human being, but beyond that is where the true
It's
spiritual
when you
development
realize
is.
you are everything and nothing.
Yes. The void, the enlightenment level.
Right.
But yeah. So yeah, I think that's and
I feel better expressing my truth.
Yeah. Yeah. There was something else that I think is I was trying to remember about because there's a lot of components of it where I think the biggest thing is that just people they use the biology as the argument, but they don't think about the higher level about it.
But I think it's just to push their agenda, honestly.
Yeah.
I think whenever the science part is used in relation to anything that involves spiritual aspects as well, it's just to push their narrative.
Right.
That's how I feel.
Right.
And like maybe people think that I'm pushing our narrative. They can believe what they want.
Yeah.
But I think we've made a pretty logical as well as spiritual explanation for why you can't just go based off of biology when you're using something that incorporates many and maybe even more things than even spirituality and biology together. You know what I mean? Like it's a bunch of different components. Because again, you have to think logically. It's not even just biologically. You have to think logically when you're picking a partner. You have to think spiritually. You know, you have to think about so many different things.
And,
so
and what traits do we desire, like in our relationships, in our interactions with humans, right? Even with like a dog's instinct is to dig. We have to train a dog against its instinct to dig because we don't want it digging up everything, right? We don't want it chewing up the couch and all the stuff. And so we train specifically against it. And it's the same thing as humans. We train out the things that are not undesirable.
You don't need it also. If a dog is domesticated, it doesn't have to dig. Like it doesn't have to, scrounge for food. It doesn't have to do those things. So you teach it that it's safe. And again, in relationships, it's like you don't have to, as a woman, read all these romance books. If your partner's giving that to you, it's safe. It's safe to trust that he's going to provide that for you, and vice versa with men. It's like that's how it should be viewed rather than pushing. Again, I just feel like it's pushing a narrative. And that whole episode was kind of actually confusing because it was pushing multiple narratives to try to include all the narratives.
Yeah. All the
which
check
I'm
all
not
the boxes.
Saying even to not include people.
No, but it's like
the thing though is when you get to a point where you're trying to include everyone, you muddle your own message a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm coming from. And also it wasn't very credible seeming because there wasn't even studies or, she didn't even talk about how they're actually measuring that they're happier, like I mentioned, or any of those things. And especially I feel like men listening to those things might think that, oh, I can go do whatever I want, because they think more logically, not emotionally. Women might listen to that and be like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. The emotional part is missing. It's not just do this because I'm a human. It's like we all have emotions. Men have emotions, women have emotions. We're not just biology brain. Either. Yeah. So it's like you can't explain this in that way. When that's not even who we are as a whole. But who can even know who we are as a whole? Because it's such a vast thing.
And it's also like there's also kind of a component of like of happiness, you could say, versus fulfillment, which is more mean. Like we don't always just chase happiness. We don't always chase things that make us feel good in the moment, right? We delay gratification for long-term success, for things that are fulfilling to us. Right? The same thing I could say, about the food. Like we don't just eat everything we want to,
Right?
Because it will cause us harm. But you could say, well, you're happier if you just eat whatever you want. For the short term, yeah, but in the long term, you don't end up being that. You're not fulfilled. You feel like crap. Like you don't feel good. So it's like you're happier in those moments. And sure, if you indulge in all of your
vices,
then you're gonna have momentary happiness that exceeds the happiness of the base level of people who don't do that, who are disciplined and do things that are hard that they don't necessarily want to do, or control themselves. But you're definitely not going to be as fulfilled.
I feel like when you feed one, you harm the other one.
Yeah.
If you feed your biological urges, you harm your spiritual urges and things that you want, and vice versa. Like sometimes when you fulfill your spiritual one, you're harming something else in return, So it's a trade-off. Like you can't make a choice without some sort of consequence.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out what choices you want to make. And that's why thinking about those things and like thinking about relationships in general is not something that should be taken lightly.
Right.
It involves a lot of things. And so again, I guess that's why it bothers me with like, this is the cookie cutter way of to happiness in relationships. Like, no, like it's way more complicated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
All right. I think we're at the end of it. Yeah.
Put it all out there.
And we still got nothing,
Gonna keep it that way.
So we'll keep it that way. Yes. Come follow us on.
Come follow us.
Yes. Join the cult
on our journey.
Yeah. But go check out
probably episode did seem a little like woo woo.
I mean, it is a little. We're a little woo woo. So. But it's okay. We get to be a little woo woo. So, but follow us on betterthanperfectpod.com. Subscribe
and
to the website. Social media.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Share with your friends.
Leave a review. Do all the things. Send us an email.
Yeah. Talk to us.
Yeah. And if you're in San Diego and you want to be on the podcast,
let us know.
Yeah, and you got some kind of act or something like that.
Act. Bring your
a
talent.
Good one.
It's
bring your talent show. If you want to audition for the podcast, right?
He's kidding.
I'm not though. Like we're just gonna let any Yahoo on here.
No, but you don't have to audition. You just have to.
You gotta impress us at least. Okay. You gotta be like, okay, yeah.
We're not super hard to impress.
I'm trying to sell it. Like, what did we just talk about? About people don't want stuff that is easy, right? You're ruining it. It's like we are hard to impress. It's very freaking hard to get on this show.
John's like making it hard, and I'm like, you're gonna scare them. No one's gonna reach out because they're gonna be scared. They're like, this question isn't good enough.
That's right. Yeah, you got to bring your A game.
You heard John.
That's it. All right. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye.